Hi everybody, welcome to Talking Talent, a day in the life of a call centre coach. And I'm really excited today with my guests that are joining me. So this programme's a virtual series of events and it's about showcasing careers in the contact centre. So if you're in the contact centre, you'll know that there's a number of different directions your career can be taken in. And today we're going to be focusing on what it's like to be a coach and what skills you need and how you might get into that kind of role in the contact centre. So what we're going to do is we're going to start talking to Sarah about kind of the broader perspective of coaching, what it is and you know what it feels like in a contact centre. And then we're going to talk to Sam a little bit, who does the role, a little bit about the day-to-day and what it's about. So Sarah Taylor is our operational change manager from Sage. Welcome, Sarah.
Hi, Sarah.
Are you okay?
All good, thank you.
So you've been with Sage for 28 years, haven't you? And you've been you started your career as an agent and then coach, and now you're leading all of the coaches in Sage. So big responsibility for the whole culture of coaching in Sage.
Yes, absolutely, and super excited to have that opportunity. So I've just stepped into a new role back in the operational change team, but with responsibility for actually what does our coaching culture look like across Sage. So I've come from a stint of managing our coaches within Sage, managing one of the teams, but actually now I've gone back to being one of one. So that's a little bit of an adjustment.
Yeah, I bet it is.
Yeah. But I guess for me, I absolutely love all things coaching. So the chance to shape the coaching culture that we've got in customer services at Sage is just too good an opportunity to pass up.
Yeah. I'm also joined by Sam as well. So Sam Burell, who's a people development coach at Sage, and you've been coaching for about 2 years, haven't you? Well, you've been at Sage for 3 years, but coaching for 2 years. Again, started like we all did as a customer support expert after being in hospitality, and that's perfect actually, Sam, for this, because what we're trying to do is bring talent outside of the industry and show them what a great career you can have in contact centres. So yeah, you're living and breathing it.
Definitely. It wasn't ever something that I thought I'd ever sort of see myself in, but now that I'm in it's perfect from the experience that I had in hospitality, and this role fits sort of every single skill that I've had, and it's been really transferable. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, great. Well, I can't wait to hear a little bit more about that as well. So let's start with you, Sarah. I know you've given us a little bit about your background, but how did you kind of get into the role in contact centres?
So this was my first full-time role after I graduated. So I've got a degree in sociology, decided to move up to Newcastle because I'd met my boyfriend at university, and he lived up in Newcastle. So that's what brought me to Newcastle. But I'd been working for my dad, and my dad had a family-run business in transport and distribution, and they used Sage. So they had Sage Accounts and Sage Payroll. It will tell you how long ago it was because they were both DOS-based programs, not Windows-based.
Not where we are today.
Not where we are today. And there was the Sage were recruiting for customer support agents. So I thought, do you know what, that I might be able to bring those skills from having used the software into the role. So that's how I applied. I'd also worked for a market research company and done a lot of facilitation and group work with clients. So I knew that I was good with dealing with people, but bring those two skills together, that's what made me good from an agent perspective. Now, I hadn't really thought about going into coaching at the point where I joined Sage, and actually coaching wasn't top of the agenda at the point of time when I joined. But as I progressed my career, I'd been probably at Sage about 6 years, and then Sage started to explore, actually, do we need coaching training for people, for leaders? I started to coach our frontline people. So exactly the same role as what Sam does now, and absolutely loved it.
Loved it, yeah.
So that's where my love for coaching all came from, just from the first training course that I went on. And it really called to me about this idea about how do you get the best out of people.
Yeah.
So then went on to other team manager roles, but then was fortunate enough to be asked to set up Sage's coaching team from
Great.
scratch, because we didn't have a dedicated team of coaches then. So I did that, and again that just was a fantastic
Brilliant.
opportunity to get the chance to train and coach our coaches. So I loved that. Then came back to them for a stint as well recently, but I was really keen and had been really keen on how do we coach actually our leaders, both that be our operational managers and our team managers, to be effective coaches as well. And this is where this role came from.
And it's interesting what you said as well, Sarah, at the beginning, is when you joined, no one really focused on coaching.
Nope.
There was nobody talked about it really, did they? It was just something that everyone was expected to do. But it was like this almost like mythical creature, wasn't it? And it's interesting to see now how organisations are moving to a coaching culture, and that's how their people are thriving, isn't it?
Yeah. And if I compare and contrast where we were when I first joined, you had somebody to support you. They were called a supervisor at the time, but there wasn't any coaching involved at all. It was probably more of a mentoring role more than anything, but not with any coaching nuances to it. It was very tell. There wasn't a lot of two-way conversation. So it's amazing to see how we've transitioned from that to the role that Sam does now. It's where it's miles and miles apart from where we started, which is just amazing to see.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about that then. What is the coaching culture? What does it look like? What are the kind of things that would be happening in a good coaching culture?
So in a good coaching culture, what would be happening is that actually everybody in your organisation is coached, right from your frontline agents all the way up to your directors, and that coaching is seen as something for everyone. This whole idea that it's a two-way process, that it's about asking amazing questions, and asking more than you would tell. So all about the balance of conversation being split to 80% from the person that's being coached to 20% from the coach. Then all about as well, how do you truly tap in to people's potential? And how do you unlock that potential? A lot as well about understanding the root cause. So actually, what's going on? What are the barriers to performance? But the true barriers. So not just scratching the surface, but really digging that little bit deeper. And I think the other key element for me would be that coaching's seen as just a tool for everybody, and not just if you're performing poorly, because that's the connotation we've had in the past, that coaching's for either your brand new people or for your poorer performers. And we've got to get to that coaching's for all.
Yeah, you're right, actually. It's about, and I was going to say that, how do you turn it away from a tick box exercise, from like it up to something that is actually coaching for development?
So a couple of things that we've done. We've started running some coaching courses for both our coaches and our leaders. But actually, from a leader point of view, our operational managers have been through the same coaching courses, so have our director as well. So everybody's on the same page. So we've invested a lot of time and effort into coaching courses for everybody. Then once we've done that, that's about then how do you embed that culture by further coaching. So actually coaching all of our leaders as well, but that being really open and transparent, so actually everybody across the floor can see that happening. And then really it's about our coaches, so people like Sam. If we haven't got new people, that we start and coach more of all of our frontline agents. But it's then about our managers making sure that they coach absolutely everybody on their team, and everybody's got some guaranteed protected time with their team managers over a month. And that's how you start and move the needle with it to become a coach and culture.
Yeah, great. And Sam, what do you think? What do you think the barriers to coaching are in an organisation? How do you create a coaching culture?
I think Sarah's touching it great there. It is about getting away from that, oh, it's just for those who aren't performing well. And it's seen as sort of a luxury and something that, oh, I'm doing well and I'm able to share sort of my best practice with my coaches and my manager, and then they're going to share that with the team, and I'm positively impacting everybody else who's going to benefit from the things that I'm doing in the way that I'm working. It's something that I think we've really started to get a good grip on here, and we're constantly sharing best practice, and it all comes from the coaching that we do, the team managers and the operational managers do as well.
Right. And tell me a little. Go on. Sorry, Sarah.
What I was going to say, what we've also done is tapped into our aspiring leaders as well. So our people that want to be the team managers of the future. I've just invested in a program of coaching with all of them as well. We call them our TM Academy, but actually let's get that ingrained with them even before they step foot into a team manager role, just so that it's business as usual.
I know, and we often see that, don't we? That transition into team manager and can be an overnight sensation, can't it? And it's nice that you guys are starting the journey of coaching culture and coaching people and training people in that respect, because you're almost expected to just lead a team of 12 people and just be able to coach, aren't you? Yeah.
And you just can't do it.
No.
Not without some help and support, even from the basics of what does the structure of the conversation even look like, and that ability to ask great questions. You need some help with that as well.
You're right. Absolutely. So Sam, tell us a little bit about your day-to-day stuff then. So what's the setup of coaching? So you're not a team manager, so are you coaching the team managers? Is that how it works?
So I'm coaching their agents. So every morning my team gets together, we have our morning meeting, and we call them huddles. So it's through our sort of perform methodology, and we go over what our focus was for the previous day, any successes that we had, any barriers that we had, and we sort of have an open discussion about what can I do to overcome that with that agent, and then we sort of discuss our focus for that day, and if we have any sort of expectation that there might be a barrier, we say what could I do, because I'm going to do this this new thing with the agent. I've never done anything like this before. Has anybody else done anything like this? And we get that best practice, and we sort of apply that. We'll then sit side by side with our agents if they're in the office, or we do have a team over in Cape Town that we coach as well. So we'll do that via Teams, and we spend a lot of time listening to their calls, sort of picking up trends in behaviour, in product knowledge, and we'll have a feedback every single day, and we'll go through sort of what went well, what could potentially be worked on, and we'll make sure that that's in line with objectives that they've set with us during those sessions. We'll have that back and forth, like Sarah said. It's about that 80-20 of us asking the questions, but them delivering what they want to work on, and we'll set up that framework with them. And that's basically sort of the core framework. That my job is just to get the nitty-gritty out of them and then organize it in a way for them to work on successfully.
Yeah, it's that not doing the tell bit, isn't it, as well?
Yeah,
so you started in hospitality, and then tell me a little bit about that. How did you what made you move into a contact centre?
So I went into hospitality after I graduated uni. I studied medicinal chemistry and realised that was absolutely not the route that I wanted to go down. I'd done jobs in retail and hospitality whilst I was at university, and it was when we came out of the summer lockdown of 2020. I'd gone back to work, and I just realised that it wasn't for me anymore. I'd always sort of seen myself in that sort of go with the flow, not have a real structure, sort of as and when kind of lifestyle. And then it just sort of just really, really hit me, and I had a sort of a check of I need a little bit more structure and routine in my life,
Yeah.
and sort of wanted to get into that 9 to 5, and found Sage, and loved their ethos, loved the way that they were going, and sort of the aspirations that they had at the time, especially coming out of lockdown. They'd done a lot of great things from working with home, like working from home, and I loved
Yeah.
that. So it was like I need to get me into a company like that. I need a good land, and I absolutely fell in love with the role
Brilliant.
and everybody here. And I'd done a little bit of coaching before then, but not in a contact center experience sort of environment. It was I've danced all my life, and I've done a lot of choreography and teaching that side, so I had that aspect as well. So when I'd gotten comfortable with the products and the role, and sort of the coaches that I had that coached me through my initial journey, because I was working from home for the first 7 months, they really got me through that, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to give back to our new
Oh,
hires and affect them in a positive way as well.
that's brilliant. That's so inspirational as well, isn't it? And I was good. That was going to be my question. How do you know you can coach? But so, what skills did you bring from your personal hobbies, you know, in the dancing and all of that, into the you know, the professional environment?
It's about building that trust with somebody and having that positive relationship. Obviously in dance, you've got to be able to communicate without saying anything, and our job is communicating with words. So if I can do it without saying anything and having that trust with whoever I'm on stage performing with, then I should be able to do it by actually speaking to somebody and having that open dialogue with them. It's just about being open and honest, but then also being able to work hard. You've got to put in the hours, and you've got to put in the effort to better yourself, to better everybody else. And that's a mentality I've always had. I've always been rehearsing for something or putting time into practice, and so this is no different. I'm used to that sort of go kind of lifestyle, and this is exactly the same. It's not an easy job. You've got to be accountable for yourself and accountable for everybody else. So that's why it was just sort of a natural fit for me.
Yeah. And you know, you talked a little bit about the skills. What other skills do you think you need? So do you have to be a good listener, do you think? Because you talked about that conversation in the 80-20 and
Yeah, it's about that balance of conversation. Sort of we call it the power of silence. It's being able to ask a question and not answer it yourself, and really wait and listen for them to respond. And if they haven't got an answer straight away, it's again not suggesting something, and it's really just allowing them to have that space to think and come up with the honest answer. You know, Sarah mentioned around sort of root cause, and what is that true root cause, and it's that time. So you've got to be able to wait and actually listen and pay attention, because then your conversation is then led by what they've said. So if you're not listening, your questioning isn't going to be as good as it possibly could be, and you're not going to get the right thing out of them that you need. But you've also got to just have like a genuine desire to help people. And if you don't, and you're doing this for the wrong reason, it's really, really clear. You know, you've got to be the type of person that wants the best out of anybody in this environment and outside of it, you know, professionally or like me in hobbies and things like that as well.
yeah, absolutely. And so what's a typical day like? I know you touched on it a little bit before about you kind of, so what does it feel like from day to day? If someone was listening thinking, I want to do this role, what kind of things would they be doing on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, here it's quite different every day. That's why I like it. You might not be with the same agent every day, but the core kind of is the same. You know, it's sitting down with an agent, it's listening to their calls, it's picking up trends, it's providing feedback, it's working on other projects that we've got going on. So if the way that we sort of assess how well an agent is doing is we've got like a marking sheet, for instance. Is that working for us? Is that process getting the best out of us to get the best out of them? So it's going back and constantly reviewing that. What's changed in line with our values? Do we need to simplify a process? Do we need to try something new, be a little bit bold? It's those sorts of things. So it's your core role is working one-to-one with your agent, but then it's also how can we better the team as well? So you sort of dip in and out. But it's a lot of autonomy. You know, you've got to be organised. Your manager just sort of expects you to sort of get on, that they're not there to micromanage you. You know, they're they do trust you. So you've got to be able to manage your time well, and know where you need to be, and be there.
Yeah. Yeah. And Sarah, what about your role as well? What's that look like? And is that similar skills and experience?
So yes, from I guess what Sam's talked about, I just build upon all those skills that I learned as a coach. So the things that Sam's talked about, I use on a daily basis, as well. Because this role is new, to the business currently, a lot of what I've been involved in over the recent months has been some help and support of team managers, so coaching team managers, training for our TM Academy, as well, and then also starting to look to understand exactly, I guess, where the strengths are from a coaching culture perspective, but where are our opportunities to be even better, as well, and definitely what we've highlighted as where the opportunities lie are really more at a leadership level. So Sam and the rest of the people development coaches have got the agent level sorted, especially our new hire. It's now, how do we support our leaders so that our leaders can be the best possible coaches, because that in turn will develop the front line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. And how rewarding is it as a role to see the change in people and see them flourish or move on to different careers as well, just like you did, Sam?
Yeah, it's that obviously it's why we do it as well, isn't it? You know, the seeing somebody have that mindset shift from sort of going from that headspace of, I can't do it, that this is too hard, I just don't understand it. But you putting the time in with them, and seeing them change into that, this makes perfect sense. And it's because you've explained it in a way that I understand. You haven't done it in a way that's just one size fits all. You've really molded yourself to the way that I learn. It's really personable. You know, you get to know people really, really well, and you have to do that. You have to build up that relationship with them so that you can sort of change the way that you coach. And it's nice as well when you go back to coaching somebody for who you haven't been with for a long time, and they do things in a certain way, and you say, what how come you're doing it like that? When said, because you've always taught me how to do it that way. You know, you've coached me like that. And you can normally see on the floor who does things a certain way because of who's coached them, because everybody does something a little bit different. But that's nice, because then it's not everybody's not a robot. You know, everybody's a little bit different, and it all brings out the best in everyone.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? It's ADHD awareness month, isn't it, this month, and of neurodiversity and all that. How do you adapt your coaching style for different people? You talked about them, not one size fits all. Is that something that you guys have to consider a lot?
Yeah,
We
definitely.
absolutely do. Sorry, Sam, you
Yeah,
go.
no, carry on. I've spoken too much.
So it's probably one of the biggest opportunities for change coming into a call center industry at the moment, is just that understanding piece about neurodiversity, and what we need to do from a coaching perspective. So Sam's absolutely right. We always look to tailor to the individual, and look to bring the individual in for them to tell us what they need, as well. But for us, neurodiversity is definitely something that we need to consider further in a coaching environment. Like, how do you make sure that the environment's absolutely right for that person? You know, does everything that we do help and support somebody that is neurodiverse? Have we thought about how they'll learn the quickest,
Yeah.
and what strengths they'll have as well, that can make us all better, too. So interestingly, the University of Derby are offering free courses at the moment on neurodiversity. So all of our coaching managers have signed up, for that online learning, with the idea of having a better understanding. But actually, we've just signed off the budget to be able to have some experts come in and deliver some neurodiversity training to our leaders and our coaches, because we feel that it needs an expert, not not somebody that's maybe done a little bit of reading
absolutely
about it, but somebody that's an absolute expert, because what we want to do is make sure that we can always get the best out of our people, no matter circumstances. So that's one big area that we're focused on coming into next year.
It's a great investment, isn't it? And it's nice that you guys are investing in the coaching, the people who are doing the coaching, isn't it? You're constantly saying it's about getting the support out to everybody, but you're supporting the people who are doing it as well, which is great to see as well. So what advice would you give to somebody who wanted to do a coaching role? Is there any particular advice you would say?
I've sort of touched on it before, but I would just say make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure you're doing it because you do have that genuine want and that essentially a need to help other people. It's just why it's a little bit of a drastic comparison, but it's why people go into things like nursing. It's because they know that they have a duty of care for people, and it's the same. You have that desire to get the best out of somebody, and just make sure that you're willing to put in the hard work. You need to be a little bit flexible, and sometimes it's a little bit testing, but you need to just make sure that you want to do it, and you know that you're doing it to get the correct end result for somebody as well.
That's great, because what we want is people to listen to this and go, or listen to the series of all of these things and go, oh, this is what I would like to do, so that role fits me better. And it's interesting that you say that this is about kind of nurturing and supporting and help and showing growth and seeing people grow throughout. So if you are interested in that, then this is a great career for you, isn't it?
Definitely.
And what are the challenging things that people might need to consider if they go into a role like this? Is it a bit all consuming? Does it feel like you're totally invested all the time? Can you switch off?
It can be. It depends. I suppose it's very specific to the type of contact center that you're in, I guess. But here it can be. It depends what time of year it is. When we come to sort of payroll year end, for instance, it's very all hands on deck, all go. It's our busiest time of year with payroll, so it can become a little bit all consuming. But you've got to be able to take a step back, and we have great resources and things here at Sage where we are able to be supported in taking a step back. When you're coaching, you're not just coaching one person, you're coaching multiple people at the same time, so you've got to be able to separate yourself from it sometimes, and really really allow yourself to just relax and turn your brain off a little bit, and listen to a podcast or just listen to some music, go into the quiet room and just chill out.
Great. And Sarah, what about the challenging stuff for you? What do you find the most challenging?
I think for me, it's just leadership capacity. So we ask a lot of our leaders, coaching being a big part of it, but of course they've got other expectations, things like quality monitoring, doing the one-to-ones, they've got meetings to attend to, etc. So I think for us it's just about how do we remove or strip out any barriers for our leaders so that they can get the time to coach more. We're looking really that a minimum of 30% of their time is coaching.
Is it? That's baked into kind of their time to do. And with the support of you guys, that they're hopefully delivering that, aren't they? Because you're right, that frontline leadership role, team manager role, it's so varied, isn't it? You've got so many different responsibilities. It's how do you make coaching a priority as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
And do you is that what you find that team managers challenge you on then, Sam? Is that I haven't got the time?
Sometimes, but also it's about they'll come to us and say, how do I make more time? How do I make this more effective? How can I get the most out of my time as well? They do have a lot on, and they do rely on us a lot of the time. But then also it's about that relationship of, I know you don't have a lot of time, but I also don't have a lot of time because I've also got to get on with my other duties as well. So it's about that balance between both of us.
Yeah. And what would be your top tips for somebody who's wants to go into this role? What would you say that they need to be doing now in preparation for it?
Go onto LinkedIn, have a little look at the resources on there. There's some fantastic resources, from sort of being a inclusive leader to having difficult conversations to sort of addressing unconscious bias. That there's a lot of things that you necessarily don't ever think about. You just think, oh, it's about knowing the answer and then telling somebody it, but it's not. There's this whole scope of other things that you might have to consider along the way, and those are just a couple of the things that I know when I first started to coach, they were really, really key in my development. So I definitely recommend using resources like LinkedIn Learning.
Yeah.
A couple of books I would recommend for anybody that's interested in coaching as well would be Sir John Whitmore's Coaching for Performance, one of the best books out there that's written about coaching. Talks about the GROW model, which a lot of contact centres will use as their coaching model. We've got a different one that we use, but GROW absolutely, once you understand the foundations and GROW as a model, you can do any form of coaching. But what I absolutely love about that book is this whole idea about the art of coaching, and how do you build awareness, how do you build responsibility, how do you build trust. Now, those three elements for me are why we've got successful coaches, because they're able to raise the awareness of the person, both from what they've done well, for things that they could have done differently, generate that responsibility so it's back on the person for the answers, and build that relationship so there's a two-way trust between them, but also that trust in the process, and to trust that coaching is the right process to improve your performance and to get you up and running. And then my second absolute favourite book from a coaching perspective is the In a Game of Tennis. It's one of the best books I've ever read, and actually forms the part of the principle of the coaching training that I deliver at Sage. But it's all about like unlocking somebody's potential, all about that everybody's got potential, we've got to unlock it, but it's about helping them learn rather than telling them what to do. And actually, when I read that book, it gave me such insight into this idea about mindset being a massive part of how you can improve someone's performance, because what Timothy Galway talks about is actually, from a tennis perspective, that the opponent inside your head is more formidable than the opponent on the other side of the net. So that's what started me going down the route of understanding more about mindset. But they're two of my favorite books that I would recommend anybody to read. There's also a lot of other podcasts around, YouTube clips, TED Talks as well. I tend to listen to a lot of leadership ones, because coaching plays such a big part as a leadership role as well. So one of my favourite at the moment is the High Performance podcast that Jake Humphreys does with Damon Hughes. Absolutely love it.
Great, isn't it?
It's one of my absolute favourites. And what I love in that podcast, that they talk about people's 3 non-negotiables as to what would get you to high performance, and even just those takeaways can make a massive difference from a coaching perspective as well. And then I listen to quite a lot that are mindset related as well. So Jay Sheety has one which is fabulous from a mindset perspective. To also Rangan Chatterjee as well has a fab one. He's a doctor,
I've
but he
listened
talks
to his.
a lot about
he does.
talks a lot about mindset as well. So I would say, for people that are interested in coaching, think about the mindset piece as well, because often what's getting in the way of people's performance is that voice inside head as well. So we've started to deliver training on mindset, on imposter syndrome, on supercharge your self-confidence, on bounce back ability as well, because then people have got all the tools they need to be successful.
And you're right, it's interesting that when we talk about coaching culture, we're not just talking about performance coaching,
No.
like you mentioned it, it's all of those other bits of coaching, the mindset, the development coaching. So some amazing reads there and listens as well. Thank you so much for sharing those. I'll make sure I put those on the podcast notes as well. And you talked about the Derby University one as well.
Yes.
So there's obviously loads of free stuff going on, isn't there? It's just kind of finding it, isn't it? Sourcing it and, and sharing it with everyone else, isn't it?
What I'll do is I'll send you the link over, Sarah, for the University of Derby course.
Great.
It's free, it's online. There's a mixture of reading, YouTube, videos as well. There's assessments at the end of every module, and then you get a nice little badge when you pass.
We all love
pass
that.
each assessment. I love that.
Yeah, we all love a certificate
as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for joining me today, Sam and Sarah. Really, really enjoyed chatting to you both. So thanks to everyone if you've listened to this or if you're reading any information on it. And if you want to know more about how to be a coach in a content centre, then just give us a bell or visit us, our website, or link in with Sam and Sarah on LinkedIn. Thank you again, guys.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Right, I'm going to stop recording.
Sorry.
I'm going to stop.